When a bee flies, a soul will rise. The Secret Life of Bees by Sue Monk Kidd follows 14-year-old Lily and her mother figure Rosaline as they search for information about Lily's birth mother. And it's, a really powerful book, and it focuses on the power of love and women and motherhood, and it's a really great book for female empowerment and, women of color empowerment and stuff, and it's just amazing. And it's set in the 1960s, so the civil rights era is obviously a thing, and it's a thing that's addressed in the book. And as infuriating as it is in many instances, it also is really cool to read about because it's not your typical history or gov class point of view on the civil rights era with a lot of facts and figures and Martin Luther King Jr. and all of that. It's a more personal take on the civil rights era and how that affected people and how that affected communities too. So I think that's really cool. And so for those reasons, I love this book and I think everybody should go read it. And I do have to shout out my amazing sophomore year English teacher, Mrs. Gudadaro, for recommending it to me. I love her, and if you ever listen to this podcast, Mrs. Gudadaro, thank you for recommending this book because it was amazing. Books, TV, music, and movies, all things that make a big impact on everyone. I'm constantly gushing about my latest read to anyone who will listen, so I figured I'd turn my rambling into something coherent that people will actually listen to, which means no tuning out halfway through. I'm Maya Ghosh, and this is my take. Okay, so as always, we are going to start on the writing because it is a book. Now, the writing was amazing. Like, it was the perfect balance of symbols and metaphors and, writing that would be praised as of literary merit and stuff, but also it was, really easy to understand and could flow really well. And it was one of those books that allowed you to get as much as you gave in terms of analyzing stuff. So if you didn't want to analyze anything, didn't want to look at symbols, didn't want to talk about metaphors, anything like that, you didn't have to get any of that, and you could still really love and enjoy the book. But if you wanted to delve deep into all of those things, you really could, and it would be a really interesting conversation to have from a literary standpoint. Obviously, because I'm not reading this book for class, I'm not having that conversation. So I didn't pick up on as many things as if I had been for reading it in class, but obviously the bees are either symbol or motif, one of the two. They appear throughout many times in the book. Obviously, it's called The Secret Life of Bees. So there's so many bee connections that can be made, but it's also from, what I said before, To Kill a Mockingbird point of view, because Lily's, looking back on things, but it's not fully To Kill a Mockingbird point of view because she's not an adult looking back on this time in her life. She's 14 at the end of summer and the end of all of these events, looking back and retelling everything from the start, kind of like that thing you do in school when you come back from summer and it's like, hey, what'd you do over summer? Tell us. Lily's at that stage looking back at the beginning of her summer, as opposed to being an adult looking back on her life, but it's still that kind of point of view. So now, moving on, I'm going to do this kind of character by character because I figured that's a pretty easy way to focus my thoughts and analyze stuff, and I need to start with T-Ray because I need to get it out of the way before it turns into a major rant, and I don't want him ruining my love for the rest of the characters, so we're starting with him. And obviously, I fucking hate him. He's an abusive prick, and we don't like that. We don't condone that. He makes her kneel on Martha Whites, which I didn't know what Martha Whites were because obviously I'm not from the South. California girl out here doesn't know what grits are, has never had grits, has never seen grits. So I didn't realize the scope of this until she was talking about, her inflamed knees and everything, and then I was like, goddamn, girl's been kneeling on grits, what the actual hell? So that was insane, and we don't like that. And Jesus Christ, like, how does he even think of that? How does he be like, hey, you know what a cool, like, abusive punishment would be for my daughter? If I make her kneel on grits. Wouldn't that be fun? No, fuck him. Oh my god. And then he's just, like, genuinely terrible at every aspect. Like, he doesn't let her read in the peach stand. He's like, oh, why'd you bring a book? You're out there to sell peaches. Like, no, fuck you. Like, she's bored as shit. Let her read. It's academic. It's not like she's off making out with boys in the peach stand. Like, and then when he finds her, like, in the middle of the night, he's like, oh, what boy were you with? You're such a whore. Like, Jesus Christ, dude. Leave her alone. And I also genuinely believed for, like, the entire book that he shot Lily's mom and he was just, like, lying to Lily to be more abusive because, again, California, I don't know anything about guns, don't know whatever, so I didn't really believe that a gun was just gonna accidentally go off because she picked it up. Like, I thought you really had to, like, pull the trigger and a safety and all that jazz, right? But apparently it did, and so, I mean, I still blame him because he's abusive, and if he wasn't as abusive, you know, her mom wouldn't have wanted to leave and all of this stuff, and they wouldn't have gotten into that fight. And I think that, like, he's also being irresponsible for leaving a gun where Lily could get it as a kid. So even if she did pick it up, obviously it's not her fault, and it's totally T-Ray's. I just think that it's really stupid, and I really wanted him to be kind of the villain in a bigger sense in the fact that he killed her mom. So yeah, I was really pissed when he came back at the end of the summer and tried to, like, get her back and stuff because I was like, you do not care about her. You have no love for her. So why do you want to have this, like, insane hold over her and take her back? She was in a loving family. She was with the daughter. She was with Rosaline. So I was very happy that he did give her up and just let her be and stuff, and left her life, you know? That was great. And now, speaking of Rosaline, I'm moving on to her. First off, I love her for standing up for herself against the racist in town. Now, do I think she should have done that with Lily so close to her and, you know, being responsible for Lily at the time? No, but, I mean, I appreciate that she's not taking anybody's shit and she's standing up for herself, and, you know, she was going to register to vote, and I was very proud of her, and I was very happy that in the end she did get to register to vote, because that was a big deal, and the fact that it didn't happen the first time, I was very happy that it did happen the second time. And I was kind of pissed at Lily for not going with her to register to vote the second time. That was not Lily's brightest move, but, I mean, Rosaline did get to register to vote, and that's all that matters, and I hate that she had to chew tobacco because, like, chewing tobacco is just so gross, but it gave her a flaw, and that gives her, like, rounder, deeper personality, so I appreciated that. And just, I love that she's always there for Lily. Like, she, you know, as much as she gets pissed that Lily tries to talk for her, and she's had enough of, like, the white people talking for her in her life, and as much as she's like, oh, well, it's your secret about your mom and stuff, and, you know, you're just dragging me along and getting me into trouble, like, as much as she does that, she does truly deeply care for Lily and does look at Lily as, you know, a daughter figure and does care for her, and so I appreciate her for all of those things, and I love their bond and how that connection can't ever be broken. You know, they're tied together for the rest of their lives no matter what happens, and so I love that about them. And I love the way that Rosaline connects with May and how she's just, like, so nice and so pure, and, like, their friendship is so beautiful, and I felt so freaking bad for her when May committed suicide because, like, May was becoming her person, and just, they were such good friends, and they loved each other so much, and I just was so sad. Like, May's whole suicide was so sad. I literally couldn't with the book. It was, like, the way she did it with the rocks, like, weighing her down and drowning her, and the fact that May was just so nice and good and empathetic, and, the way she cared for bugs and left crumbs so that they left the house and she didn't kill them, and the way she took the weight of the world on her shoulders. And I wish May had been able to like get help and keep living, because I loved May and I loved her and Rosaline, and I loved the three of them as like a trio, the sisters. And May was just, she was too good, and she didn't need to die like that, Now, moving on from sad things, talking about June and August. First off, also, my tie-in between May and June and August, besides the fact that they're sisters, is I loved the fact that the house was pink, and that they painted the house pink because it gave May something nice to look at. And I just, for the longest time as a kid, I wanted a house that was like bright pink like that house. Now, growing up, I don't think I need a bright pink house. But it's so fun to see it, and I love it so much. So yeah, the pink house was amazing. And first I'm going to be looking at August, and August is just, I love her. I love that she took them in, even though June was like, oh, do we need to take them in? And I love that she, gave Lily time and space and let her talk to her when she felt she was ready. And I love that she tells Lily, all about her mother and how her mother struggled and how her mother did want to, go back and get Lily and bring her to the daughters. And August is so good, and she's such a like glue that keeps them together and keeps everybody sane and keeps everybody going. And so I love her, and I love August, and she's so good. That's my word. August is like good. She's almost like a pillar. Like, like she stands there and the rest of the world can be spinning around her, but she's central, and she's there, and she's strong, and she's kind, and she's going to hold you up. And so, yeah, August is the pillar of this book. I love August. And now looking at June, like, I hated her for being so closed off to Lily in the beginning, but I kind of get it. I mean, they all know what happened to Lily's mom and stuff, and so, Lily is white in the civil rights era thing coming up again, right? Like, Lily's white, and people will look down upon it, like that fucking cop that's like, it's not natural for you to stay with black folks. Like, fuck you, excuse me, first off. But second off, right, like, people will look weird upon it. So I understand June's, like, reservations, but I'm very glad that, like, she comes around in the end and it isn't just her hating Lily for the entire book. And I love how they, like, made up through the water fight and stuff, and that was what really, like, kindled their friendship. And the way she was, like, apologized during part of the, like, Mary, celebrations and stuff. And I really do appreciate the fact that, like, she finally got married in the end, because it was great to see, first of all, her being happy, and also her honoring May's wish of, wanting her to get married and stuff. And just in general, the three sisters had this perfect dynamic. And even though May obviously does not make it to the end of the book, like, their dynamic is so great, and I loved the sisters, and they're amazing. And speaking of Mary and the daughters are also amazing, and just the way that they welcome Rosaline and Lily, and the way they protect Lily at the end of the novel, like, you think your abusive ass is gonna come take Lily back? No. Excuse me. We love her, we care for her, and we're gonna protect her and raise her to be a boss-ass bitch. Like, they're just all amazing and accepting and open and loving, and even though they all have their different quirks, none of them really judge each other for it, and it's just this perfect harmony and community in the daughters that I love. And I love that Lily and Rosaline get to be a part of it, and I love that Rosaline fits in so well, and she's so happy, and it's the first place that she has ever really felt accepted and everything, and just the daughters are so positive, and I love them. And now, finally, moving on to my dear, dear Lily. She's so strong. Like, for a 14-year-old, I don't understand where a girl got all this strength. I mean, probably because she had to deal with T-Ray for all her life. But she's just, like, the way she breaks Rosaline out of prison, I know I could never do that. And I'm a Prison Break fan, so I consider myself able to break out of prison if I had to. But I don't think that I could have done what Lily did. She's so smart, and And she puts up with so much shit from T-Ray, so I was very proud of her when she finally did leave. And I was proud that she found a home with the daughters, and she was able to find a place where she was loved and accepted and given this maternal community and this maternal, like, air and energy that she never had because of her mother passing away. And I love all of this book, and this book obviously centers around Lily. So yeah, I love Lily. She's a great narrator. She's a great representation of a teenage girl, and how sometimes she's completely fine, and then other times she wants to, or not wants to, she does throw honey jars all across the room. Like, it's just, I love Lily. She's great, and I'm very happy that I got to inhabit, her brain and see life through her eyes. And also Lily and Zach, which is a big thing. And can I just say, as a mixed race person, making me a daughter of an interracial couple, this whole we can't be together thing because we're different races is complete fucking bullshit. Now, I also am wary of the fact that my parents were being born during the time this book is set. So times have changed, but still, it's fucking bullshit, and people need to get over the fact that, like, obviously I understand race is a thing, and it affects how we live our world today, and I'm not saying get over race, but I'm saying get over the fact that people are mixed race, and people can be mixed race, and get over the fact that you think people shouldn't be mixed race. Like, you're living in the backwoods era of time if you think that, and I was very mad about that whole mentality, and I was very happy that they kissed at the river because that was great, and I loved it, and it was amazing, and I was very happy that they finally did kiss because I really was rooting for them to be a couple, obviously, the whole time. And I love how they were just, like, good together and looked out for each other, and, like, he bought her a notebook so she could write, and, in the end, they were talking about how they're going to school together, and she doesn't, like, let anything get in the way of her being friends with him, and she sits with him and takes abuse from other kids just to be his friend and stuff. And I mean, Zach's arrest was complete bullshit too, and, like, it also, as much as it is like a civil rights era book, that is a contemporary issue in the fact that, black people get arrested for stupid shit, and black people get shot for stupid shit and stuff like that. So, like, his arrest was obviously a trying thing in the book and stuff, and it's something that makes me think about the world today, because when I read that, I was like, oh my god, it's complete, like, civil rights era thing where, black people are getting arrested left and right and stuff. But then I stopped myself and I was like, no, that's our contemporary situation. Like, black people don't only get arrested and make up more of the prison population than they should have demographically, like, looking at the United States, but they get shot and killed. Like, this is not an issue that's gone away, and so I think that almost made his arrest worse reading it now in this sense, because his arrest not only was a thing of the times, but it's a thing now, and it's a thing that's escalated now. So yeah, it was just, like, hard, I guess. And looking at the whole civil rights era thing, like, I never read a book, at least that I can remember, that is set during the civil rights era, and it's, like, most of the things that I've read on the civil rights era have come from history textbooks or excerpts of things that were written by civil rights leaders, like Letter from a Birmingham Jail or I Have a Dream, stuff like that. And so it's very interesting to read something from a, like, more humanistic point of view, and it's not people that are fighting and marching on Washington and stuff. It's from people just trying to live their lives amidst this whole civil rights era thing. And the fact that, like, it was narrated by a white person, I think, showed kind of the true nature of the era, because when you read historical accounts and stuff, right, it's very easy to judge history through our lens and be like, okay, well, yeah, obviously we know all the police brutality was bullshit, all of the stuff they had to do was bullshit. But when we read, the cop that confides in Lily and is like, it's not natural, and I'm like, okay, that's bullshit, right? But it's like, that's how things happen, and that's, like, those are the little things that happen in everyday life that we never see in reading stuff about the civil rights era. We see the big things, and getting to see the small kind of tiny things that made up daily life, I think, was really impactful and really interesting to read. And it just is a really nice undercurrent for the entire book, because the book, I think itself, obviously is not focused on the civil rights era. It's focused about, maternal love and the power of love and women empowerment and finding answers and all that kind of thing. But it's a nice undercurrent to have such a big thing and such a noticeable thing and something we all know be part of the book. And it's also nice to have the civil rights era, which is something that's hugely talked about and hugely focused and dominates most conversations it's in, be just more of an undercurrent, whereas we actually get to focus on the love and the empowerment and all of that stuff. So I think it's a really nice blend for the two different things in the book, and just having that be a part of the book, I think, makes the book truly what it is. And so to wrap this all up, honestly, it's just an amazing book, and I think that everybody should read it. And there is a movie which I need to watch because it has an amazing cast, like Queen Latifah, Alicia Keys, Jennifer Hudson, and Paul Bettany. And even though Paul Bettany plays T-Ray, like, we forgive him because Paul Bettany's great. And, like, I watched the trailer, and the trailer looked really good too. So I need to watch the movie, and while I watch the movie, you guys should read the book because it's amazing. So yeah, once I watch the movie, maybe I'll do another comparison episode. Maybe I won't. We'll see. I really hope the movie lives up to the book because the book was great. And yeah, I have been Maya Ghosh, and this has been my take on The Secret Life of Bees by Sue Monk Kidd. Thanks for listening.